In this week's 5am chat, we talk about everybody's favourite subject, sleep. Now, this is something that I have suffered with the lack of for a very long time with my girls, and I only wish I had met the Gentle Nanny sooner. So, grab yourself a cup of tea and let's get into it. Welcome back to 5am Chats, and today we are talking all about everyone's favourite subject when it comes to babies and children, and that is sleep. And this is something that I have actually struggled with from the start with my two girls, so I am very excited to be joined by the Gentle Nanny. Welcome, Anne. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I'm all good. I've just got some peace and quiet at the minute, so it's good to have this chat when it's all a bit quiet. But yeah, I'm quite excited to talk all
You're at
about
work.
sleep with you.
Yes, you're at work at the moment, aren't you? And
I
you
am.
are working as a nanny.
I am, yes. So not only do I work as a nanny, this is like my 4th year of the family. They've got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 7-week-old baby. I've also got my own 2 boys who are 10 and 12. And this is how the Gentle Nanny kind of started, because I've worked in childcare for 27 years, like as a qualified nanny, nursery nurse and stuff. And they gave me my baby and they're like, here you go, congratulations. And I went, what do I do with him now? And he had colic and he had silent reflux and he didn't sleep. And then he teethed and he didn't sleep a bit more. I thought that was really hard. And then I had my second. He didn't sleep for 5 years, but there's more to it than just that. He didn't sleep, but he had night terrors. And we think he might have had a bit of reflux as well. He's also got mild hypermobility. He had mild eczema, mild asthma, vitamin D deficiencies, food intolerances. And I had no help whatsoever. And it was really, really hard, because doing what I do, I knew something was wrong with my child. And I went to the doctors. I went, oh, babies, just cry. It's fine. Get over it. But we got there over the years, and he started to sleep through. So this is really why the Gentle Nanny started, because I know how hard it is when you have a baby and a child and they go, here you go, congratulations. And then you're just left to kind of look after your baby and child. So my infant, he sleeps amazingly now, and my children are great. So I wanted to share what I've learned and what I've trained in with other parents to help other parents have more knowledge and get more sleep. So this is kind of how it all started, and this is who I am. So yeah.
I only wish I had met you sooner, because we struggled for years and years with no sleep. And even now, my 4-year-old daughter, she's a lot better, but she doesn't sleep through the night every night. So yeah, we still get some days where we're waking up very early or multiple times during the night. And I think if I would have had any sort of support in those early days, it just would have made it so much easier, because for me, sleep deprivation was the hardest thing. And it's so hard to be then a really good person in general when you've had no sleep, isn't it? You know, your mood is just not great, you snap, you're just exhausted, you have no energy. So yeah, I think hopefully today what we talk about will help lots and lots of parents in the same situation that we were in the beginning, where we didn't have that support available to us. So I guess we should go straight into our questions. And the first one that I would like to ask you, which I think a lot of people can relate to, and is part of the reason that I set up the 5am Mama, is around early waking. So especially with the weather getting warmer and the light mornings, you know, we are now a lot lighter earlier on, which I know does mean that children tend to wake up earlier. So do you have any tips or advice for those people who are in the 5am club at the moment, or, you know, dealing with very, very early starts to the day?
Early starts are so common, and it's so hard. But what I've noticed in the last kind of 2 to 3 years, sleep is about more than just sleep. So when I always give my sleep advice, we always look at the whole routine, the environment. So I would definitely go in their room and have a look at their room. And the first thing you're going to think of, is there any light coming through? Because when the sun comes up and the light comes through, it's going to disturb you. It disturbs and stuff. So you need to have a look and see if there's any blackout blinds, curtains and blinds. And then once you've worked out if there's any light coming through, you're going to stop the light. Then you're going to look for the noise. So you're going to listen. Is there any birds coming through? Is there kind of cars and kind of lorries and anything that's disturbing the sleep? But also what I've noticed is sleep is very personal and individual to each child. So I could tell you about the fact that your child has had too much sleep. So we'll start with our sleep tank. We all have a sleep tank. And every night we fill our sleep tank with sleep. But if you put your child to bed too early, they're going to wake up too early because they filled their tank. So some children have had too much sleep, so they wake up too early because we've put our children to bed too early. Other children are overtired. So I've noticed this recently with my 2-year-old at work. She's borderline dropping naps, not quite, and she didn't have a long enough nap the other day. So she went to bed fine, absolutely, but she woke up at 5 o'clock the following morning because she was still tired from the day before, and that just does not make any sense to us whatsoever. So what I would say is when you've got a 5 a.m. start, I would look at their room to see if there's too much light in their room. I would look at the noise to see if there's birds. I would look at the time they went to bed the night before to see if they went to bed too early or they didn't have enough sleep the day before. But did they wake up because they're a baby and they need milk? Or is it because they didn't eat their dinner the day before, so they're still hungry as well? But my advice would be to check all those things and don't start your day. It's really hard because if they're making lots of noise and there's siblings, but treat 5 a.m. as nighttime still. But also anything past 6 a.m. is fine. It sounds really, really bad, 6 o'clock, but 6 o'clock in the morning isn't actually too bad for babies and children to get up. 6 o'clock is fine, but 5 is just too early in the day. But then also, if you've got your toddler who's like 2, they woke up at 5, come 9 o'clock, they want to sleep. But you can't let them sleep at 9 o'clock because you're reinforcing the early wake up and then their body thinks, oh, it's okay, I'll have a nap now. And then you kind of end up in this vicious cycle where they get up too early, then they have this nap, and then they want to go to bed too early, and then it starts all over again. So there's lots of information there to kind of have a look at early wake-ups as well.
And I can definitely say there is a huge difference between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. in terms of
Definitely.
like it does feel like night and day, definitely.
It does.
I think that's a really good tip in that it feels like an easy solution to then let them nap, but you're actually then making it difficult later on. It's almost better to have a few days when you're sort of resetting,
Yeah,
I guess,
definitely.
and then try and like get it. So what would you say is kind of optimum sort of bedtime? Is it 7 o'clock? Is that kind of the standard bedtime for children, do you think?
The studies and the books and everything you read says the optimal bedtime for babies and children is between 7 and 8. But everyone is so different. And the thing is, this is also another kind of tip. You need to look at your child. We all have different days and routines of our children, but look at your child. Your child might be tired at 6:30. So if you know they're going to go to bed at 6:30 and sleep through till past 5 o'clock in the morning, you can put them down at 6:30. My Ethan, when he was little, and he's got high sleep needs, and he would go from 6:30 like for 12 hours because he needs his sleep. But if I put my Max down at 6:30 at night, he'd have been up at 4 or 5 in the morning because he'd filled his sleep tank. So every child is different, but then you might find that your 4-year-old is better going to bed at 8:20. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of forego your evening and put her down at 8:20 because she's going to go to sleep a lot better. And then when you talk about mixing up their bedtimes, they're all so different, but you don't want to put them to bed too early because it's hard because we've had a long day and we want to have an evening to ourselves. But if you put them to bed too early, it causes short-term insomnia, and then therefore they're laying in bed. Whatever. It's like if I said to you, right, tonight I've got stuff to do. You're going to go to bed at 9 o'clock, and you're a bit like, I'm not quite tired. We go to bed when we're tired, and obviously to fit in with we've got work and we've got stuff to do, but we don't go to bed and like lay there hoping we're going to go to sleep as well. So it's 7 o'clock is a good time, but if your child needs to go to bed earlier, put them to bed earlier, but never before like 6:30 because it's a dangerous time. Or they might be better at like 8 o'clock. So it's very personal to your child as well. And I always find it's better to go with your child's sleepy cues. So some might be yawning, some might be laying all over the floor, or they get a little bit ratty or a little bit cranky, or they have live wire moments when they're running all over the house. But it's very much down to your child. And I always say as well that you know what your child is like, and if you know that your child is going to get those 12 hours, you're going to work it so they do it. And you're going to put them to bed at 8, and then they're going to get up at 8 as well. But if you've got 2 children or more, they're so different. And I don't know if you have this with yours, but we can't treat all our children the same because they're very different. And there's different types of sleep needs. I think it's called chronotypes. And it's whether you're like a morning person or you're a night person. And sleep is very genetic as well. So if you've got a partner, your partner might not sleep so well. So I'm great with sleep. I've just got to close my eyes and I'm done. My Ethan does exactly the same. Whereas my husband and my son, they take ages to go to sleep. So you have to kind of look at the family history of what sleep is like, what they need. And yeah, sleep is about more than just sleep.
Yeah, that's so interesting, actually. And my two girls are very different. I mean, they both didn't sleep through the night for, I mean, over a year. But my first daughter now, I feel like since she's been at school, she now consistently does sleep through the night, and it is around, a good 12 hours. She is just exhausted. She's out like a light, and she is fast asleep. I don't ever, it's very, very rare that she wakes up. It's, if she's ill or something like that. But my second daughter, I have always felt just doesn't need as much sleep.
She
It's
might not.
it's
No.
strange. She's never done 12 hours. It's always kind of 10 hours, and then she's ready to start the day, which is why I started the 5 a.m. Mama, because it was, I was putting her down at 7, she was waking up at 5. And I was kind of tearing my hair out as to why this was happening when my other daughter, who is
Yeah.
older, sleeps for longer. But I guess that makes a lot of sense if it's just her individual sleep pattern. That's how much sleep that she needs. She's filling her tank, as you say. But yeah, it's difficult when you start the day really early, and then you have to go to work and function normally as a human. And especially if you're up in the night as well, it can be difficult. But all of those little tips around making the room dark and quiet, I think, are really, really helpful. I do have a question though around night lights, because
Okay.
you said to keep the room dark, but what happens if your child is afraid of the dark and they want a night light on?
We don't want too much light, basically, because too much light is not good for us producing melatonin. So I do recommend like small lights. You can have one, so you have to be careful of the colours. So you want something that's kind of like red, orange, and yellow. They're better for sleep than kind of bright white lights. My boys currently, they go to sleep with the lantern, but we have the doors open because we have indoor Bengals, so they have the lantern light on. They have their Alexa playing Virgin Chilled, and then they have the spaceman that we got off like a TikTok shop, and it's like starry night projectors and stuff.
Oh yeah, I
I
got my
think
nephew one of those.
we got an Amazon one, so it's a little bit bigger, and it's amazing. And I've always encouraged kind of night lights and stuff. So because this is when I said sleep without more than sleep. So therefore, you've then got the anxiety and you've got the worries and then you've got the fears and stuff. So yeah, use small night lights with the correct bulb colours to make it kind of a bit of more of a warming colour. But you don't want too much light because you want to help produce the melatonin, so you need it to kind of be dark. And a light is fine because you want to get rid of her fears and for her to sleep all night as well. And then you can leave the night light on for as long as you need to as well.
Good tips. Well, we have also had quite a lot of questions through from the community on Instagram. So I thought we can make our way through these and hopefully help some other parents who have some questions. So the first one is tips on how to get a 10-month-old baby to settle themselves for naps and overnight. And this is a big thing, isn't it, where they learn to settle themselves?
There's a lot of information surrounded about self-soothing, and self-soothing is kind of quite a tricky one because you've got different types of children. You've got the children who are happily, who would lay in their cot. We dream of those babies that you put down to bed and they lay in their cot and they go to sleep. I mean, I never had one of those. But at 10 months, it also depends. There's lots of other information about, are they fed to sleep? Are they breastfed or are they bottle fed? Are they rocked to sleep as well? So I think for me, as general broad advice, I would say sleep is sleep, a nap is a nap. So to get them to nap in the day is really important because they need their day sleep to have the good night sleep. We were saying about the overtiredness. So for a 10-month-old, depending on the routine and where they are, I would use slings, I would use buggies. You can do kind of car naps as long as they're not in the car seat too long. To get them to sleep. And then you can work on the night sleep. So what I would suggest for night sleep is if they're being fed to sleep, but being fed to sleep is biologically normal anyway as it is. So you could kind of you could hold your baby, feed them, and then you can add in some rocking and some patting and some shushing because you're going to dilute the main way they go to sleep. So you would feed them till they're asleep and carry on with the rocking and patting, and then try and put them down and carry on patting and rocking. And then you'd carry on that for like a week or so, and then you would feed them till they're nearly asleep, and then you'd carry on with the rocking and the patting. So you're still helping them because unfortunately at 10 months it's quite rare you're going to be able to put your child in their cot and go to sleep. And I think the problem is a lot of without generalizing here too much, a lot of books and that we used to have used to say, put your baby to bed drowsy but awake. I mean, have you ever tried putting your baby down drowsy or awake? The babies can't read books, and they don't ever do it. And then we think we're failing as parents because our baby isn't going to bed at 7 o'clock. Our baby's not sleeping 12 hours, and they just can't sleep. But it's perfectly natural. It's a lot harder, but it's natural to feed our babies to sleep, to pat them, to rock them. And you would slowly take all that away so they can kind of learn how to sleep by themselves. But it is really, really common. There was a great post that Lucy Weber did. She's an IBCLC, and she did all the statistics of how often babies and children wake for feeds in the night, between the ages of 0 and 4. I can put the up on my stories, and it's a really high percentage that even at 4 months old, a lot of them wake in the night. At 6 months, they wake in the night. At 10 months, they wake in the night. And I think once it doesn't help us, but once we realise that it's normal for babies and children to need us in the night, we then can work around it and realise we're not failing. But we need to go to bed earlier ourselves. And it's really hard because we don't have much of an evening. And then we sit on our phones, and then we watch a bit of Netflix, and then we try and catch up with our partners or have a life. And then we don't go to bed like early enough. And then obviously your day starts again at 5. But we need to cut ourselves some slack, find our village, see if people can help us with our babies and children, go to bed a bit earlier, and then it's not going to be forever. But yeah, they finally learn to sleep through.
Yeah, I think that's really key because like I read so much around ways to help self-settling, and that's the key to them sleeping through the night as they learn to settle themselves. And you do feel like you're failing if you are feeding your baby to sleep or rocking them to sleep. And I did read so many books, and just kind of put them down and then gently like leave the room. And there was all this around crying to sleep and all this horrible stuff. And you do feel like it's like a thing that you have to make them sleep by themselves, but it does really go against your instincts as a mother to soothe your baby, to help them, and the natural need for them to feed as well, and that's their kind of sleepy cues. It's really hard to reset all of that, and I think there is a lot to be done in terms of society's kind of expectations, I guess, around mothers and babies. Like it's normal, it's fine. There are obviously those babies that sleep through the night at 6 weeks, and lucky them to the parents, but it's very, very, very normal for your child not to sleep through the night for a really long time. And I think the more that we can normalize that, and like you say, it's not forever. They do all eventually learn to sleep, just like they all eventually learn to walk and potty train. It's just all of these things that come with being a baby. It's normal, isn't it? That's what we need to kind of change, I guess.
You hit the nail on the head perfectly right there. It's about society, and if you kind of look for these Facebook groups and stuff, and they're great because they can give you advice, but a lot of them are like, oh, well, my baby doesn't sleep like 12 hours at night, and I've been told to put my baby down awake or leave my baby to cry. And I think if we can educate parents to make us realise that we're not failing, it's perfectly normal, then we can relax a little bit. And there's lots of great ways to look at this. So basically, if you put your 2-year-old to bed, when she might have been in daycare or a childminder's all with you the whole day, but when you say goodnight, another reason why they stall at bedtime is because they know that you're going to leave them. You're going to leave them for 12 hours roughly, if you can hope. And it's the longest period they're away from you. And not you personally, but you're expecting them to lay in their bed by themselves all night with no one to comfort them and just get on with it, because that's what society makes us think they should do. But it's also a case of, if you have a partner in life, or whatever your life situation is, you sleep with your partner. So I read, or we have Alexa on, or my other half might watch TV, and we're on the top floor, and it's ever so lovely. It's me and my partner. But I'm then expecting my children to sleep downstairs by themselves. But when we're a partner, we want to feel the comfort and the closeness as well. And that's what babies and children do. So babies and children, they don't manipulate you. They wake for comfort. They wake because they're lonely. I mean, 2 and 3-year-olds do. They're kind of like, well, I'm awake now. Where's my mum? But it's food, or they need a nappy change, or they're worried. They don't know where you are. And as I said before, it's not really helpful, but we just need to kind of realise that our babies and children still need us, and then we kind of like, we can adapt and we can sleep. I wouldn't say put your babies and children in your bed with you, but I would definitely say, if you can, go to them. always, or if your baby and child wakes in the night, always put them back in their bed, go to them and sleep with them in their bed, and then you can look at ways at gradually reducing the comfort you give them. It's just better for them to go back to sleep in their bed and wake up in their own bed. And I know a lot of parents let their children into their bed because you get more sleep that way, but you're then going to have to then make a plan to get them back into their own bed.
Yeah, I guess the short-term gain there is a good night's sleep, but
It is.
long-term you kind of then stuck with a growing child in your bed who takes up space, and then long-term is probably not the best solution. But yeah, that's really useful. I think it's just that's something that we really did with our second. Actually, was she never slept in our bed, because the first I did do that where I took her in, and just to get a few hours extra sleep, she would sleep in our bed. And the second time round, I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure she knows that she sleeps in her bed. And even now, when she wakes up in the night, she wants me there and she wants me for that comfort. But a few times I have tried putting her in my bed, and she actually doesn't even like it. She wants to be in her own bed because that's where she sleeps. But yeah, she wants me on the floor next to her. That's the problem.
You could always make up like
which
a little
isn't
den if you've got like spare cushions or something to sleep with. As long as you're warm enough and comfortable enough, you can kind of, it's not going to be long term. You just go in there and sleep with her. And I found that as well, because with my Ethan, he didn't sleep very well, and he had like the night terrors, and then my other one had the nightmares that actually I couldn't face waiting for it to finish, then soothe him, and then go back to bed to be woken up again. So I used to sleep in there with them, either in their beds or on the floor, so I could get myself some sleep as well.
Yeah, it's really hard getting out of bed, especially when it's freezing cold and you think, I just don't want to get out of my bed. But long term, it's better.
And I think that's kind of exactly the same thing as well. Long term, when you're dealing with sleep issues and anything else with children, it's always a long-term goal. You're always constantly helping them with food, helping them with behavior, and helping them with sleep. So you might have conquered some sleep coaching just now, but then you're going to come and hit another wall later down the line with another development they've had. So you're constantly doing this, and it's about the long-term goal really as well. You get there in the end.
Yeah. The next question, actually, we've probably touched on a bit already, which is a 3-year-old who doesn't sleep through the night and wants me. I am due an op. So this lady is due to have an operation, and I think she's probably worried about getting the rest and recuperation that she needs with a 3-year-old that doesn't sleep through the night. So that's actually quite a tough situation, but maybe there's some things that she can do in preparation to help ease that when it comes along.
See, this is quite a tricky one, and it's, in a weird way, it's kind of nice that she's got time to prepare her child for this rather than it kind of suddenly happens. So I'd look at what happens with her 3-year-old in the day. Do they go to daycare? Do they go to a setting? Are they used to being left with anybody? And then I'd look at why they wake up in the night. Is it because they're anxious? Do they have nightmares? Are they hungry? So you could have a look at their sleep habits. Because if you lay with your child to go to sleep at 7 o'clock at night and they wake again at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have to lay them again. So you want to be able to look at what they need in the night, how she gets her child back to sleep, and then kind of gradually take those things away. And there's a great book you can, books are great for stories. So she could also prepare her child. I think it's called Mummy is Going to Have an Operation by Josie Leon on Amazon. So she could get a book and then read to her child about Mummy's going to have an operation, Mummy will be back home soon. And then plan some care if she's got a village around her for someone to help her with her child in the day, to play with them, because what she might find is she can't give her child quality time in the day, so she might need someone to help her look after her child, so then therefore at night the child isn't just begging for mummy's attention as well. And also she could look at where her child sleeps and what sort of operation she's going to have, to whether this is then kind of going against whatever I've said, that if the child doesn't actually sleep with her, maybe the child could sleep with her so she can have her rest and not being kicked and things, and then she can look at with sleep coaching again afterwards, so they could sleep together. So basically, if the 2 bedrooms are separate and then she's had an operation, she can't walk very well or whatever's going on, she might then struggle to get up in the night, but maybe she can make plans to sleep with her child while she recovers, and then look at separating their sleeping patterns again afterwards. But it's about talking to your child and maybe we have these great ideas that we're going to explain to our child and say, you're going to stay in your bed all night and mummy's going to see you in the morning, and then we laugh because we go back up there. But she can try and explain to her child that mummy's going to have an operation, and we're going to try and sleep at night. But it depends on what the child needs and how much intervention the child needs at night as well. I mean, if it's nightmares that the child is having, it's quite common at this age. And I found that you get into a vicious cycle of nightmares, that your child can watch TV that's suitable and related to your child. But the problem is, if they watch it again and again and again, it kind of gets stuck in their brain, and then they can have bad dreams. But children have got great imaginations, and they can make up all sorts of things, and they can be scared of all sorts of things. My youngest used to be scared of flies. I remember finding it at the bottom of the garden, and a fly in his hand, and he said, "Oh my god!" But to him, it was a very big deal. So children and their nightmares, it's all a big deal, whether it's spiders or something at the window. But also I find that sometimes children have nightmares because they're too hot. So basically, with this weather, you want to make sure they're not too hot in the night. And then sometimes they need a wee, so their body's telling them, and then they have a nightmare. And what I found is with my children is when they woke in the night and it wasn't a night terror, I would go in and I'd say, do you need a wee? Do you need a drink? Do you need a cuddle? And check. And we always used to turn their pillow over. We all have these little weird things in life, and it would be a cool side. So if her child is having nightmares, there's a couple of things she can look at to kind of help soothe her child, and kind of, you can't stop the nightmares, but you can make them less frequent, and then being overtired as well. And then if your child is sick, that can kind of cause nightmares as well. But yeah, if it's also that the lady can go back to the 5 a.m. start reasons we're looking at. Are they too hot? Are they too cold? Are they anxious? Is there a noise? Are they scared? Are they frightened? And then kind of she can look at those situations and see if she can find any solutions to them.
Yes, absolutely. I hope it helps. And the next question we've probably covered already, sleeping in own bed and early wakes. So I think we've probably covered that one. The next one we have is...
But there was one thing we forgot. This is the thing, we could talk about sleep for ages because it's more about sleep, but I would also say about bedrooms. So it's not going to fix them wanting to sleep in their bed, but have a think about how often your child plays in their bedroom. The bedroom is a very important place, because the thing is that if you get your child up in the morning, you get dressed, you go downstairs, it depends on your house layout, you might not go back up again until bedtime. So therefore your child isn't comfortable enough in their bedroom. And I always recommend that they spend time playing in their bedroom. So basically, so your 4-year-old, if they don't spend time in her room, you'd go up there today, you'd look at her room, put some toys in her room and say, right, let's have playtime. So after dinner, you could go upstairs and play in her room. And then you would say, I'm just going to go to the toilet. And then you're going to pop out the room and say, I'll be back in a minute. And then they need to learn how to play in their room by themselves and know that it's a nice, safe space for them to play in. And that's not going to fix them not wanting to sleep in your bed, because your bed's obviously very comfortable. But it's about letting them and getting them used to their own space and their own bedroom as well. But some of us kind of forget about, they need to play in their bedroom as well.
Yeah, that's true. And even now, actually, my eldest daughter, she seems to be really scared to go in her room. So we've got she's really, it's the strangest thing. She's got a Barbie dream house which she saved up for herself, and she bought it. She was really proud. She got it in her bedroom. And I always say to her, why don't you go and play with your Barbies in your room? And she says, I'm too scared to go upstairs by myself. But I don't know why. And, if we're out in public, she'll happily run off, not a care in the world, in the park, she'll be gone, having fun. But in her own house, where she's perfectly safe, she's scared to go upstairs, scared to be in her room by herself.
I'd go up her and play with her in her room. And then if she lets you, you could go to the toilet, you could go put some washing away. And then if you can call out to her and say, I'm back in a minute, are you okay? And then, just kind of get her used to it. And you can use music as well, music or lullabies and bits and bobs, but just baby steps. But children end up being really scared of the most bizarrest things. We're like, oh, you're fine. But actually to them, it's a big deal. And it's quite common about, this is what I was saying about sleep coaching changes. So when they're babies, it's about milk and comfort and needing you. And then kind of toddlers is anxiety, behavior, milk, comfort. But when they get older, it can be about anxieties, and children who slept amazing for the first 3 years suddenly become scared of stuff. And it's really frustrating, because you're one of the parents who are like, my baby sleeps, and then they stop sleeping, and it's really hard. But it's quite common for children to be anxious about the small things. But then if you're there for them, you can help them get past it. Whereas when they start school, the sleep changes, because it's about anxiety and their friendships, and she said this, and times table tests, and sleep changes, and they all change. And I think I'm quite lucky because I've got a background in childcare as well, but I can kind of, you will say something to me and I'll be like, yeah, that's fine, that's normal, that's what happens. But my son's 12 and I've got no idea, I'm just winging it. But under 12, it's great. And I can say, oh yeah, that's what happens, because they get anxious and stuff. And I think we question ourselves as parents a lot of the time because we have to read books because we don't know what we're doing, and we have to ask our friends. And it's such a new thing to us. And if you think about it, it's new for your children, but it's new to you. This is your first time of being a mother. Everything is new for you, and we don't know why they're anxious. We don't know why they're not sleeping. We don't know. And I'm still learning lots now, and we always will be learning of our babies and children. But the problem is we get ourselves and we think we've sussed it, and then they change again, and then they change, and yeah. Always expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and I think as well, just know that they're human beings. Like they have worries, they have anxieties. They're not robots. I think a book is great for knowledge, to learn about common, traits and things that happen, milestones, etc. But every child is individual, and they're going to behave differently. It's not a one size fits all solution, is it? But we are actually moving house soon, so that's another thing I think I'll definitely do when we do move house and they have their new bedrooms, is make sure that we're spending lots of time in there, and that we're making them realise it's a nice safe space to be in, and we can play in there and they feel comfortable. Because I do anticipate that we might have some disturbed nights where they wake up and think, where am I? This isn't my bedroom, and it will all feel very new and different. So yeah, there's some good tips there to spend lots of time in the day in their bedrooms as well.
Definitely. And I'd get them to make choices as well. Give them not too many choices, but get them to help choose things for their bedroom, to kind of make them feel like they're part of the decision making as well. And it's normal because, I mean, I moved house 4 years ago. My two boys have shared a room. There's only 2 years between them, and they love sharing. They've shared for 10 years. But even as a grown-up, it's really weird. Like, if you think of it, and you go on holiday, your first night, even as a grown-up, you don't sleep very well because it's new surroundings.
Yeah,
so you just have to put yourself in their shoes, and you've kind of realised that they're not going to sleep well for a bit. And this is, they will adjust, and it will take time, but it's a big change for everybody, isn't it, when you move house?
Yes, it is, definitely. So the last question that we have is, when my son doesn't sleep, it affects me badly. I am so cranky, upset, etc. Is this normal?
Definitely. This is so normal. And I love my sleep. And even now, with my boys being big and looking after other people's children, I get so cranky and so miserable. And it's normal because we need sleep. And the funny thing is, I remember saying to a friend of mine, and she's got her second kid is 6 weeks older than my Max. And she said, oh, the sleep deprivation is awful. I was like, oh, it's fine. And I had my baby and I went, oh my God. And you cry because you've got your hormones. And you're so sleep deprived, basically. But it's really normal. We lose concentration. We have trouble focusing. And we reach for the bad foods, don't we? Because we're so tired, and we think a sugar fix will fix it. But it is perfectly normal. And I think with that, we then have to look at also, do we have anyone who can help us? Are we going to bed early enough ourselves? Are we eating some good foods to kind of help us, not necessarily reaching for chocolate and wine? But it is perfectly normal. And I think the more people you talk to and realise, a lack of sleep makes everybody cranky, doesn't it? Regardless if we've got children or not. And it's a big shock when you have to get up in the night or get up early, whereas my children sleep, but I've now got Bengals and I've got a puppy, so I'm up at 6 kind of walking the dog now. And I don't like getting up at 6. It's too early for me. So come 9 o'clock at night, I'm really cranky and tired. But yeah, honestly, that lady, it's normal. But maybe if she can go to bed a bit earlier, or she can have somebody help her in the night, or catch up on some sleep or some jobs around the house. But it doesn't last. But it's important for us to realise that we're human as well, and we can't function on a lack of sleep. It affects us in our daily life and our relationships and our work and our mental well-being and outlook in life as well. When we're tired, it really affects us.
I can definitely relate to that as well, because I feel like even now, like if we have one bad night's sleep, it really affects my mood for the whole day. I am so miserable. So short-tempered, no patience. I just feel absolutely just exhausted, and like I don't want to talk to anybody all day, and I just want to be left alone. And I think that's why it's one of the hardest things to deal with, the sleep deprivation, because it does affect your mood so much. And for me, actually, I've found, although it's very, very difficult to motivate yourself, actually doing exercise can really help. It seems counterproductive if you're really tired to go out for a run, but I've been doing a lot of running recently with my marathon training, and the days that when I can get out and run, even if I've had a terrible night's sleep, it just does give me that boost and makes me feel a lot better. And even if it's just a walk, just going outside, getting some fresh air, it does really, really help. It kind of is the opposite as to what you think you want to do, because you think you just want to lay in bed and sleep, but getting out in some fresh air and just trying to move a little bit is really beneficial, I think.
Oh, it's amazing. It's I always recommend it. You need fresh air for yourself to clear your head. And it's amazing. And they say, kind of like general parenting, that if you're having a bad day with your children, take them outside. They say put them in water or take them outside, give them a bath or take them out. And it's amazing how much everyone's moods change. They say there's no such thing as bad weather. You just your clothes, you dress for the occasion. Kids love jumping in puddles. We love being outside. And if just a quick 20-minute walk, it's amazing how different you feel when you kind of come back inside. And now that the weather is so much better, and as you say, you need exercise, and it is, you feel like you don't want to do any, but actually, if you think about how you feel afterwards, it's good for your soul as well. Your mental health, your health, and your soul.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Anne. We've covered a lot and very, very useful tips in there. So can you just finish by letting everybody know where they can find you and hear some more great advice from you?
I am on Facebook as the Gentle Nanny, and I'm also on Instagram as the Gentle Nanny, but there's an underscore at the end. And I've also got my own website, which is www.thegentlenanny.co.uk. But yeah, I can be found, and you can message me. And yes, you can see all my packages on my website. There's also a blog on my website as well. But yeah, any questions, message me, and I can help you out.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day, and I will speak to you soon.
All right, thank you. Bye. Bye.
So I really hope you found that useful. There's so many nice tips and pieces of advice in there that hopefully you can take away and maybe get a better night's sleep very soon. Thanks very much for watching. Look out for the next episode.